Hey crafty friends, welcome back to the Old Paper Lady. If you're new here, thank you for joining us. Today we are going to make us a mini album base. So I'm going to do mine. The first one I'm doing here is going to be in white because it's going to be for my grandbaby's Halloween party. Because it's the colors are black, orange, and white, and I thought white would make it pop better than doing a black background. The black would just blend in with it, so that was the base. And then plus two, it's a little easier to see the white than it is the black cardstock. All right, so what I've done is I'm going to take my 8.5 by 11 sheets. Here we go again, not being able to pick up nothing. And we're going to turn them where it's 11 by 8.5. So you want to get you a chipboard, or you can do a cereal box, what have you. And you're going to need to be able to have it, and I cut mine to where it's 8.25 by 6.25. So when we cut our 12 by 12 papers, we'll cut it down to 8 inches by 6 inches, and you just cut your 12 to 12 in half. And you can also do it with your decorative paper for 11 by 8.5 by 11 decorative paper. So I done this based off because my papers are 12 by 12, so I just did 8.25 tall by 6.25 wide. You'll need 2 of those for your front and back cover. And my spine piece, normally I do 2 inches, and basically I just had a piece that was twice this length, and I just split it in half because I'm doing a fall one for her, and I'm doing her Halloween one. So my spine was just a leftover piece. It's 8.25 tall, and just cutting it in half, put it at 1 3/4 inch wide. And really the only measurement on this, if you did it the 2 inch, you would actually just have another page on it. Instead of just 3 pages, you'd be able to have 4. That's the only big difference. Now when I do my pages on the inside, I take and I lay it out on the 11-inch side, and I score at 1/2 inch, and it's 6. So the pages fold like this, and I glue this 1/2 inch into my book. So that'll be a 1/2 inch there, 1/2 inch here, and a 1/2 inch here, with about a 1/4 inch variance. So I was looking at it to see if I could do 1/4 inch or if it'd be better to do 1/2 inch. So I was like, well, I'm just going to do 1/2 inches for these. So we're going to start off with our cover piece. So now your chipboard, again, your 2 cover pieces are 8.25 tall by 6.25 wide. Your spine piece, I did mine to have 3 fold out pages. It's going to be 3.25, 3 1/4 wide by 8.25 tall. And that'll give me 3 1/2 inches to where I can put my pages in. Now, if you did 2 inches, you could be able to fit 4 pages when you score at 1/2 inch. That's the only difference between a 2 inch and a 3.25. And the only reason it's 3.25, like I said, I had this piece and it was already cut, and I said, well, what's the point in trying to cut another one? So I'm going to take my 8.5 by 11s and put them down. If I can get a hold of this swing. Now, if you do your chipboard and it is a cereal box, it's going to be as thick as this chipboard. This is medium weight chipboard. I got it off of Amazon. So I'll take, and I'm going to, gives me about 1 inch on the side and the top and bottom. And then I always take my chipboard, the width of it, and that'll be where I put my spine. Now you can make markings on this and do it if you like. But see, you're going to have about 1/8 of an inch clearance on it. So when you fold that up, it won't hinder the fold. And so I'm going to do this to see where I need to gather my pieces. And that's about right. About 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to glue those together. You can do it with wet glue, or you can do it with double-sided tape. Either one. Wet glue, you just got to allow for the drying times, only difference on the structure of the book, actually. And then I'll take, and this is 1/4 inch. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to run it right up at the edge, close as I can get it to the edge without going over. Because you got to remember, it's double-sided tape. If you go over, it's going to be sticky and it'll pick up. And my little tip for when you cut it is to pull it back towards you and cut it. And then most of the time you don't have overlap on the outside that you got to worry about cutting off. So I'm just going to do 2 strips, and that'll give me my 1/2 inch that I need for it to connect together. And I'm going to varnish on this side, and then see where I've had those little bits there. I'm going to snip those little bits off, because remember, that double-sided tape will catch and stick anything. And I'm probably going to move my mat, just because this is white paper and I've got glue and stuff on it, and I think that's going to wind up getting on it. So I'm going to move that out of the way while I'm building this. Now that's probably going to make it to where you can't see it, but you'll varnish on this side, you'll flip it over and varnish on the other side to make sure that that double-sided tape is on there really good. Now I will not take and just pull these strips off. I won't do that. So what I am going to do is I'm going to take and pull the top piece up and fold it over. I'm going to do the same with the second strip that I ran. Pull that top piece up, fold it over. Now the reason why I do that is so you can line this bottom piece up down here. Make sure you cover up both of your, and then you can lay it down, and you can glue it here, and then you're going to take and pull your strips. And as you do that, you stick your paper down. And then see, it's matched up really good on either end, so you don't have an overhang, which those parts are going to be folded in on the inside of your spine. Now, most of the time on mine, I'll use wet glue, but for just the video purposes, I'm going to put the white sticky tape on it. So I'm going to run a strip down the side of my spine. And on the other side, if I can get a hold of it, sticky tape. And you want it right on the edge of it, not over the edge, because then it'll catch on the part that you want to bend and fold for your covers. And then I'm going to run a to strip right down the middle of it. Now you can take and cover the whole thing, but that's just a little bit overkill, I've found. Pretty much wasting your double-sided tape, to be honest with you. So I'm going to do that with that piece. And on these, I'm going to go around the outside, right up to the edge. Now you may have to practice a little bit with your double-sided tape. I did, because, you know, no, I was not born a professional at putting the double-sided tape down. I'm several hundreds of mini album builds into this by now. So, and I will still fumble around with it from time to time. And I'm at the end of that row, so I'm going to throw that one out. But look, I got another one right here. These came from the Dollar Tree, actually, and it holds really good. I have not had an issue with their double-sided tape there. So I made 2 or 3 books, and I just put them through the ringer. I mean, I really did. Just, you know, opening, folding, flipping, flapping, pulling it back and forth, and this and that and the other, just to make sure, you know, that the Dollar Tree double-sided tape held up to usage. And I mean, you know, not just at family gatherings or what have you. I mean, I was every day in it, opening, closing, 2 or 3, you know, just sitting watching a movie, just flip-flopping it back and forth, because I didn't want to make these and give them out as presents or what have you, and then, you know, 2 or 3 folds in, they fell apart on me. So I've got that for the around part. But now you can't just put that down, because when you do, your middle of it's not going to be stick, and it'll have a popping sound. Ugh. Fumble fingers, y'all. So I'm going to take and put it about every inch or a half inch in here, so I won't have that popping racket, just from one end to the other. And you can do this on both of them. Now, like I said, normally I'll put wet glue on it, but I'm just doing this just for the sake of filming, because I don't want to put the wet glue on it and it not dry good, and then when I go to try to crease and fold my paper over the edge of it, it starts cracking on me because it's wet. Because that will happen with 65-pound cardstock. That's what this is. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you that. Now, you can do it with 110-pound, 65-pound, fairly easy, just what you have on hand. But just remember that 110-pound cardstock, you got to massage it to get it to fold a little bit more than you would 65-pound. And you don't want to just put it down and fold it over either. So I'm going to go ahead and do this other one like that. I'm going to keep this piece for just measurement. I've got this little handy dandy tool here, but I know everybody don't have one, and I didn't have one for the longest time, so I'm just showing you how I started out making them. And my first couple ones, they were made out of, well, probably about my first 20 actually were made out of just cereal boxes. And then I found Rosa Kelly on online, and that's where I learned how to make Benny books from, is her. Just watching her videos. And she offers a online class. Now, she don't know who I am whatsoever, but I'm just telling you where I learned how to do this from. And it is that sweet lady. And if I'm not mistaken, I've not watched none of her videos here recently, but I do believe her mother just recently had passed. As I said, she don't know me. I've not spoken with her in any way, shape, or form, but I just watch her videos. And I think the last video I watched was an update that the reason why she hadn't been online because her mother was not doing well. But now she is a sweet lady. I believe she is in California, if I'm not mistaken. And she makes some beautiful, beautiful, intricate flip-flops and stuff. And she'll do, now this is going to be just a simple a 3-page with the spine that we got. 1 inch, half inch, or yeah, half-inch base. So you can do a couple of folds in and out. But yeah, the first time I made one, I didn't put the double-sided tape in the middle of my chipboard, and my book kept making that popping sound because it was glued really well at the edge, but was it glued in the middle? So I'm going to varnish that down really well. Okay, so now, most of the time, what I do is I know that this is pretty much even on either side. And I'll take where this centerpiece here is, if you can tell, where we have our joint, our combining joint. I'll take my spine piece and I'm going to put that where it is right at the center of that conjoining joint there. Because you don't want that joint to be anywhere where one of your folds is going to be. Now, I have made several cover pieces where it's like, it'll have a back piece, it'll have 2 different spines, and it'll have like a gatefold type situation. And you'll link several of those together. But I'll take where this half of inch spine, see that, where we joined it together. And I'm going to put my my spine piece right in the center of that. So I am going to go ahead and peel all of these off. And the reason why sometimes I will not peel it up until I put my stuff down is because once this is stuck, it is stuck. And you'll wind up tearing your paper before it lets go of it. Okay, so now I will take and I will eyeball this really, really well. I'll hold it with one hand over the other, try to get it as even as I can, top to bottom, and as straight as I can. And I'm going to drop one end down, and I'll drop the other end down. And so see, if you can tell where the joint of the papers are right here. So there is the joint of the papers. And then the spine is in the middle of them. So I'll flip it over. And I'm going to varnish that back side of it down. Alright, so now, if you want, you can take, the reason why I'm saying with your chipboard, your cardboard, your cereal box, whatever, as long as it is the same width of whatever you're using, keep you a spare piece of it, and you'll put it down, and then you're going to butt your sides up to that, because you know that will be the depth of this. So when it folds, it'll clear. It may need to go a little bit more than that. Now see, this I think is going to be a little bit, it's the same depth of it, but I think it's a little bit too big, because that's going to make my spine weeble wobble. So now I'm just going to put this down, and I'll butt that up against it. You want around the 1/8 of an inch is what you want in between your spine and your cover pieces. And this, I will undo all of it too. Now you can take and undo a few of it and lay it down, and then you just need one of these hooks, and you can go up underneath it like this, and you'll hook it and it'll pull it out for you. I'll show you that when we put the spine, the inner pages on our spine on the inside, because I'll put it down and line it up, and then I'll take this underneath and I'll hook the cover of the double-sided tape and pull it out. But you want anywhere from about a 1/16 or 1/8 of an inch in between your spine and your cover pieces. Just so when it folds, they won't hit each other. And it won't crack your spine. Alright, so now this is kind of tricky, but not kind of tricky. So you take this and you butt it up, and it helps if it is the same size as your other one. And what I do is I'm going to put it up against it, and I'm going to eyeball best I can to make sure that is straight and it is even. And I still got my fingers under this end. I'm going to flip over. I'm going to burnish this side down really well. Make sure we get those air pockets out. And then I'm right-handed, so I'm going to flip it this way to put my other cover piece on. And I'll go a little bit slower on this side just so I can show you. Basically what I've done was I took this and put it up against it. And I held my board up to it like the bottom like this, and I just slid this piece out and let the board fall on the paper. That is about the simplest and easiest way I've found to do it. And I just done like that. Just put that at an angle up against the bottom of it. If you can kind of see what I'm doing. And then just kind of laid it down after I got my top and bottom settled. Well, I keep wanting to stick my hands to it. And I know that this may be a little bit daunting. That's why I say, for if you are inexperienced, it's better to use the wet glue, where you can wiggle it around just a little bit. Now, sometimes I will take, if my hands are shaky or what have you, I will take and put wet glue on it, and put it down. Alright, so now I'm going to take, so what I'm doing is I'm taking this and I'm putting it top and bottom the same. And I'm just taking my paper, taking my cover, and I'm putting it right up against the side of it. And I'm putting the angle down like that. Well, I moved it. That didn't work out too good. Alright, so I got my spacing. I'm putting this right up against it, and I'm putting that down. Do you see what I did? I just put the corner of the paper. I just took the edge and basically did like that, and I'm laying it down to get my spacing. And you gotta hang on to it really good. Because if you let it slip, it's stuck on there crooked. So what I done was I took, on the bottom of that, I took and I did it like this when I put it down. So this is touching, but the tape's not touching. Does that make sense? I hope that's a little clearer. Or if you're really good at eyeballing it and lining it up, you can just drop it on there. So then when we fold this, see, it's not going to hinder. It won't hinder our cover. It'll fold fairly easy now because we, you know, and then you got plenty of room there for it to clear. So see where I'm talking about right here, where it's the same length of it or the same thickness of it, because that's going to fold up and be right on top of your spine. So you'll need it where it's the same thickness of it, so it doesn't, so when it folds, it won't be like this and break your spine. All right, so now we got that done, I'm going to take and I'm going to put double-sided tape around the whole inside of my book and then around the outside of my paper. But first, we're going to miter these corners. Now, the best way to do this is take your thickness, your same, if you're using the, you know, medium chipboard that you buy, or whatever you're using for your chipboard. If it's cereal chipboard, you're going to hold that at an angle because you will need that same thickness to cut right here. And you can draw you a line and cut it with the pencil. But you're going to put it on an angle. And you're going to draw a line there. And you'll cut that. But see right here, where we've got this little space, you want about a 1/16 or 1/8 of an inch. So that won't, your corner won't be sticking out. Now this has one on it, but I really think that's really kind of thick. That's real thick. How thick is that thing? I didn't notice that until the other day. Well, that's 3/16 of an inch there. That's a little bit too much for me, because then I'll have to fool with, you know, folding it over and curving it over and what have you. And then sometimes I'll take, and I won't even do that. I just know I need a little bit of space there, and I'll take and I'll just cut right up to it like that. And I'll take from this side at an angle and just cut into it like that. And that's what you need. And that's what I'm going to do with all of them. I'm just going to go an angle right up to it. And then I'm going to take from the other side and go at an angle right to it. See? You're just mitering your corners is all you're doing. I used to take and cut them. In a U shape. But sometimes that U shape will get too far over and you'll have a little bit of space here. So you just take right off the corner and snip it right to it. And just go right at a V and right to it. So that's a couple of ways you can do the mitering of your corners. I'm going to need to get a drink, y'all. I'm getting a little hoarse. I'm sorry, y'all. Alright, so now that we've got that done, now we can do our double-sided tape. And at this point, it doesn't really matter which side's which. Front, back, what have you. It don't matter. All we're doing is we're making the base right now. So we're going to take, and I always do like the outside corner from the very top of the paper. And I get it as close as I can to that edge without going over. You want it as close as you can get it. And then I'll go down here on my chipboard, and I'm going to run me a piece right at the edge of the chipboard. Now you can break that in half if you want. I just always run it all the way across. It's not going to hurt it. It actually helps make your spine a little bit sturdier, to be honest with you. As it holds it all as one piece, because this is going to fold over and it'll help hold that as one piece instead of gluing it separate. And we're going to do that all the way around. And the reason why I do on the outside of the paper and the inside is so that when I fold it over, the inside catches on the bottom. And then I have it where it's tight here and here, and it holds it all down. So I'm just going to butt it up against this, and I'm doing right at the edge of the chipboard, because when we massage this paper and fold it over this chipboard, it's going to catch here first, and it's going to hold it tight. So it makes your cover a whole lot tighter. So if you didn't get everything good and taut on the outside, that piece is going to catch it, and you won't have ripples in your cover. And I'm just flip-flopping it around. I'm just moving it around just because I'm right-handed, and it's easier for me to just slide it on around. And like I said, at this point, we're not really worried about which side's the front, which side's the back yet, because, you know, we'll do that when we get to putting paper on it. Our decorative paper. So at this point, all we've really done is the only cuts we've really done is cut our chipboard down and mitered the corners of the paper. So I mean, it's really a whole lot of not really cutting much at all. And so that's 2 sheets to cover the outside, 2 8.5 by 11 sheets of 65-pound cardstock. And so then now you see why I bought all of this colored cardstock up, because like I said, I was you know, I'm a mini bookmaker. That's what I was doing. I was buying up scrapbooking pads and papers, and then I started watching Gail Augustinelli and got into making journals, and I was like, well, I think those would be pretty to do 8.5 or 8 1/4 by 6 1/4 journal mini books, and take those journal pages and use them like that. So that's how I was making folios doing that. And I was like, well, shoot, you could make a mini album doing that too. You know, pretty decorative journal kits. You don't have to use them as journal kits. Now, I'll tell you what, that floral paper kit that I just got from, what is that lady? Yeah, these Girl One Art, them autumn florals. Now that would make a gorgeous mini album for the fall time. Sure would. Just be plumb beautiful. Alright, so now we got all of our, we're going to go around and varnish this down good. Okay, so now if you are using 65-pound or 110-pound, whichever, you don't want to just flap that over because it's going to crack it. So we're going to take, and we're going to pick it up, and we're just going to start. You just want to take and just start with the folding it up against the up against your chipboard, your cereal box, whatever you're using as your chipboard. And then as you fold it over, you want to push a little bit more on it, and it won't break the fibers, it'll loosen those fibers up. So what you're doing is you're just massaging the paper. So you'll be like, hey, I want you to fold over here, but I'm not going to break the fibers in it so it won't crack on you. And so see then, So basically you're just scoring it with your hand. You can do it with a scoreboard if you would like. But sometimes I'm a little heavy-handed with my scoring knife utensils. So I choose to do this. So that way I know I'm not going to poke a hole in it when I'm trying to stick it over. And we're going to do that with all sides. And if you see, you know, the long sides are a little bit harder. Now, if this is 110 pound, you definitely need to massage it. Because if you do not, it will crack. If you take that and flip it over, that 110 pound cardstock is going to crack. So you don't want to pull none of your double-sided tape off yet. You just want to just take, and I'll push it against my stomach. And it's easier for me to do it that way. But you just take and push it up against. So I'm taking my hand and I'm running it like this along the table, up against it. That's all I'm doing. I don't even have the book cover lifted up. I just put the paper up and just run it along with my hand, massaging it over, and then as it gets up, I just flip it on over. See how I've done that? I just flip it on over, massaging it over until I get it to where I can fold it over. And that is the best and easiest way that I've found to do it without using a scoring board tool. Alright, so then we'll lay this out. I always like to do the long ends first, just because I don't know why. So I'm going to uncover this whole long piece here. Now remember, we just massaged it. So I'm going to start in the middle with my thumbs. Can you see where I'm at? Okay. I'm going to start in the middle right here on this bend where my spine is. And I'm going to put that down first. And I'm going to work my way out to the edge. And that is the easiest way I have found to do it. So now I'm going to take my score tool. And remember, we've got our double-sided tape on the underneath side of this. Now you can take your score tool with your little pick, put it up underneath there, well, most of the time, and it'll come right off. And then you push that down, and you just come right along with it. As you pull the tape off, you put your paper down. And yeah, we've got some pieces here that are covered up with that other. That's fine. It'll come out from underneath there. But now see, that's how, and it didn't crack. And it's not loose. Now these pieces here, we'll need to score them once we get all of it folded. We'll take our scoreboard. You want to take not a real sharp piece. Take the blunt piece of one. And just rub it on there like that. And that's how I score it. So that'll want to fold naturally. Okie doke. So now all we gotta do is do what we did to this to the rest of the sides. I do the long pieces first, so that way the end pieces cover up any imperfections of the long piece, basically. Alright, so I start in the middle, take my two thumbs and put them right where that spine is, and I'll take it and push it over and put it straight forward. Then I take my fingers and just run along the edge of it, and that is stuck down. See? Alright, and then we're going to pull this piece out from underneath here again. And I know some people do these tutorials and they'll do a whole book in a video. I'm not that girl. I want to make sure and certain that if you don't have the fancy tools, that you know how to do this without, you know, all the measuring, the mitered corner book pieces and that and the other. That's why I showed you how to do it with a piece of chipboard instead of a miter tool. Alright, so then that's stuck down good, and we're going to take the blunt end, not the sharper end, but the blunt end of your score tool, and just rub across that spine part right there on the inside. And we'll do that again several times, but it's going to be several layers deep. So we'll have a piece that covers the spine here, and then we'll have pieces that cover these. And then we'll have to go down the whole spine and score it. So I'm just going ahead and doing the underneath part, so I don't have to do all that heavy-handed scoring and wind up poking a hole. Because, see, this is a void. So when you score with the sharp end here, you're liable to poke a hole through it. That's why I say use the blunt end and go down it, so you don't poke a hole in it. Alrighty, so let's do this piece where it's covered up the most. So I'm just going to take and go right up underneath there. See how that slid underneath there and pulled that out? These little gadgets here, they got them at Dollar Tree and everywhere. These little hooks. That's the best thing I've found to get underneath there. And see, it'll pull out for you. Alright, so I'm going to take this and I'm just going to start in the middle and pull it over. Ooh, I cut that in just a snag short, didn't I? Just a hair. And it's okay. And then that way, if you did cut it just a hair short, see where that's showing? I cut in too much on that side, too much of an angle. That's fine. You can put a book corner on it, and it'll be just fine. It's not the end of the world. You can fix it. Alrighty, see? Now that is going to be our book cover right there now. But see how this is up underneath here? You just take the little pick part, and it'll come right out from underneath there. Cut both of them ends short. What in the world was I thinking? It's not too bad to the point of where I want to, well, it is kind of, you see that. But yeah, you need to leave about an 1/8 of an inch on your corners when you miter them. If I can say it right, it'd help too, wouldn't it? Okay, so now that is our book cover. And seeing that folds fairly easy. We didn't really have to do a whole bunch to it, and our spine didn't crack. And our cover is pretty taut. See, you don't have that paper bubbled up. All right. So now on your inside spine piece, I did 8.5 tall by 5 inches wide. So it's going to go on like this, and you'll have a couple of inches on either side of your spine, because when you put your pages on it, that's going to hold the weight. So you want to put that down first. I'm going to flip it over where the writing's not showing. I just wrote it on there so you all could see the measurement, and I wouldn't forget to tell you. So you just kind of want to center that up on either side. And you can put that down with wet glue, or you can put it down with, I'm going to put it down with wet glue. I like doing the insides with wet glue. I just do. Now, because we're doing this with wet glue, you're going to have to wait a few more minutes before you put your spine down first, and then you'll put your covers on each side. So we'll have to wait a minute before we can score it to fold it. And then I'll talk about how you need to score and fold and cut your inner pages for what you're going to put your decorative paper on. And I go around the edges of this really, really well. And then I just scatter glue the rest of it, basically. Now, this will be really good if you want to get art glitter glue. And what I do is I just put it on there and center it up, basically. That's what I'm doing. Because it's the same height as my book cover. 8.5 tall by 5 inches wide. And this is not a good time to score it, but you can go ahead while it is wet and run your fingers down where that spine piece is. And you want to take and varnish this down really well. Because when you go to fold this, these little pieces here will pop up if you don't. And this may be overkill with the glue and the double-sided tape and stuff, but I guarantee you this book's gonna last. It ain't gonna be you open it, put your pictures in it, and then you can't open it and look at it but maybe once or twice a year. You'll be able to open this and look at it and flip through it, and your grandbaby can run off with it and this, that, and the other. So right now is not, you don't want to see how that's good and tight on there, because it's wet glue. You do not want to try to fold it yet. Now you do want to try to find where you do have that spine and just kind of give it a soft little crease. Try to get that glue down in it. Just try to find where your spine is. See where that's why I scored those to start with. On the ends, you can find those pieces and just kind of run along that spine. You don't want to put down too hard. You just want to make sure that the glue is on there. So you see those barely dimples in that. Because if you push too hard on that, it's going to, especially when it's wet, it's going to tear it. Okay, that's good and down. So now on your inside cover pieces, we did 8 1/4 by 5 inches. And those I made to where they'll go right up to the edge and be as tall as your book. And you can put it down. Right now, if you want to put a tie closure on this, this is when you need to do it, because it'll need to go underneath these. And I'm putting a tie closure on mine. It don't have to have a closure, but I'm just putting one because it's decorative, you know what I mean? So if you're going to do the tie closure on it, this is the part that you need to do that at. And so I'm going to pull out my pretty ribbon. That's the ribbon I'm going to use for the grandbaby's Halloween book, because I think that goes really, really pretty with it. And I got these off of Amazon a long time ago. It was in like a set. It had Halloween, Christmas, Easter, and all that. And see, I think that's going to go with that really, really well. I think it's just cute as a button. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this up, the ends, and I'll put Fabri-Tac glue on that so it doesn't fray after we get our book finished. Now this is the first time that you're going to have to worry about any part of it directional. So I'm going to take that, fold it in half, and I'm going to cut this right in half right there. Okay. Alright, so now while we are gluing this and putting it in here, I'm going to take and put me some Fabri-Tac on the ends that we just cut. Just barely fabric-tack it. Am I in the camera? Nope, I'm way back here talking to myself. Knucklehead. So I'm just going to run the fabric-tack on that and dab it down. And that should keep it from fraying, hopefully. I think there's one lady I saw, she has a lighter and she torches them. I'm afraid the whole thing's going to catch fire if I do that. It'd be my luck. That's the only reason why I don't do that, so I'm afraid it's going to catch fire. Oh, come on, Fabri-Tac. No, this stuff's being temperamental today, ain't it? Alright, so then I don't want so much that it's gooped up on there, but you see what I'm saying? You can see it, but it'll dry. And that'll keep it from fraying. Now, my white all-purpose glue does really well, and you can't even tell it's on there to keep it from fraying. Alright, so that's about all we need to Fabri-Tac for on this, y'all. Because when we put these down, I'm going to put these up here and let the ends dry right quick. And let them hang off the page here. I'm going to cut me some 2 or 3 strips of my double stick tape. And like I said, these here, they'll fold and set up and stay closed on their own, and you can put them on a shelf. But I like to add a little bit extra, you know. I got a decorative ribbon that'll match it and go with it, so why not put it on there, you know? Pretty it up. Okay. So now, I'm going to take, since this is going to be the front piece, because you know the book opens this way, so now you need to be mindful of which way your ribbon is. So I'm going to take and put my ribbon down right in the middle of it. You can do a 0 ruler all you want, and you can eyeball it up too. It'll be just fine. So I'm going to take this double stick tape and right here at the edge of that paper and that ribbon. Oh, give me the double stick tape, buddy. And that's going to hold it in place right there. That will hold that in place. And put 2 of them right there at the end. That'll hold it in place, and it'll keep the ribbon from pulling through the paper, because it's going to have, you know, the cover paper and the decorative paper on it. And I'll put another piece right here where it meets the cardboard. And I'll put a piece right here on the end. And I'll put a piece in between that. And I'll do another long piece right here, just for good measure. It's not going to go nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so then I'll do this right here. Well, I can't fold it yet because I hadn't scored that up, but, and you can, like I said, you can eyeball it, or you can do, you know, your 0 measure on both sides. Most of the time I do pretty good eyeballing it. And I'm going to come straight across right here. I'm going to lay my scissors over here, because now I got to cut some more double-sided tape. And we're going to put this side down. So that way I know that my ribbon is going to stay put. It's not going to pull up through my decorative paper on the inside. And I don't have to worry about it. It's going to stay on there. And some people will put, you know, just barely right here. That's fine, but it's liable to pull out in between the papers and that if it's not glued properly or not held down, which now you can do it with Fabri-Tac, but I just do it with double-sided tape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it seems to do the trick for me and hang in my book and not hinder up nothing. Alright, so now I'm going to run this down to where I got about an inch on the inside. Keep my scissors on it. So I always glue the edge of it first. Well, if I could. I always try to glue the edge first. Alright, and I'll put this piece right here. And sometimes I'll take and put double-sided tape down, then put my ribbon down, then put double-sided tape on top of it again. But I found that if I do this right here, it holds fairly decent. Because you're going to put wet glue on top of your paper. I'm just making sure that it's stuck and it doesn't pull apart from the paper. And I always lay it back over to make sure that it meets pretty decent. Yep. That's going to be pretty, y'all. I like that. See, with the little cutesy. Love it. Alright, so now, the ends are fairly dry. Yep. So now we can put our, inside pages down. And again, those are 8.5 tall, or 8 1/4 tall. I'm so sorry, 8 1/4 tall by 5 inches wide. And we're going to put that right up to the edge, like so. And then we'll have decorative paper that'll cover up this seam. That's why I did this 4 inches and this 5 inches, because when you do your decorative paper, we're going to cut it at 5 3/4, and it'll come right up to the spine, and you won't have to see this overlap. Alright, so now on this side we're going to take and we're going to peel off our outside cover of our double-sided tape. And let's do an extra, make sure it's burnished down. Because if you go to pull that cover off of it and your whole tape piece comes up, then your double-sided tape's not varnished down good. Yeah, see, like that's not varnished on there good. It keeps wanting to pull the tape completely off. Alright. And so my trick for tape, for gluing paper over top of double-sided tape, is you want to take and put your glue over top of your double-sided tape, because your paper will catch on it and it will grab and will not let you adjust if you need to, if you didn't lay it down straight. So you just put a little bit over it. You don't got to do overkill on it. Just enough so you can have the wiggle room for your paper to put it on straight. And again, we're going to go right up to the edge. Just a skin, a slim little trim around it. Do the crazy glue in the middle. That's my favorite part. Okay. So I always try to start at the edge of it and move it down. Now, if you do this with art glitter glue, you better make sure it is on there straight when you start laying it down, because if not, if it is the least little bit crooked and off, you will not be able to move it. That's why I say get a good all-purpose glue. Even Aleene's tacky glue will do the same thing. It'll allow you to move it a little bit, but if it is way off, it is going to mess you up. So you put it down. I always line my edge up with my bottom, and then I make sure my top's good. And then I'll take and I'll start in the middle and get them air bubbles out and spread that glue around. And I go right up to where my ribbon is on both sides. Make sure it's in there good and down the top of it. I just run my fingers around the edge of it to make sure I don't have any glue seepage. And see, and then that secured that in there, so it's not going to tear it off. And then we're going to have another layer of paper over top of it, so it's in there. But anytime if you're making an album of any sorts and you want to put, especially like if you're doing a covered cereal box, I love doing that, or cover cereal box, what is them, noodle boxes, anything like that. I love doing them for Christmas with decorative paper on the outside, and getting the photo mat plain papers. You get the photo mat papers and put it down on the inside for your photo flips. Get varnished on there, buddy. I know this is a little bit lengthier, but I wanted to go into great detail and tell you how and why I do this without any fancy tools, because this is how I learned to do it without all of the... Now, I was not having this this little handy dandy hook here, and I was like, well, how in the world am I supposed to get that out from underneath there if it breaks? Because sometimes this strip will break. And then I was like, oh no, I gotta find something to get that out from underneath there with that. And if you don't have that, you can always get you a little extra awl, or your needles for sewing. That'll work great too. Alright, so we're going to go right here. Now, I did get this here just a smidge on the front side of that, so I'm going to roll it back. Just so it won't catch everything under the sun on it. And again, I'm just taking and putting this over top of my double-sided tape, so I can have the wiggle room to straighten up my paper. And I just do a bead around the outside of it all the way around. And do the crazy glue on the inside, and then we'll smush that glue out. Okay. So I'm going to start at the bottom of it. Make sure that that is straight. Go all the way to the edge of the book. And I'll pull it to me, and I'll check to make sure that my top is straight. Now make sure my corners line up. And I think I'm pretty good there. then I'm going to take, like I said, start working around that trim. If you put a trim on it, making sure that that's good and varnished down and that glue's on there good. And then I'll start in the middle and I'll work my way out to the outside to push that glue out. Spread that glue out and get that glue, because sometimes your cardboard will suck your glue up, and then your paper, after it dries, you'll have to put a little bit more on a corner or something. But most of the time, if you go that slim trim around the corners of it and take and pull from the inside of the middle of the paper and push it out, it's down pretty good. And that's why you want you a soft tipped glue spreader, so that paper is going to be wet with that glue and it won't poke a hole in it, because I learned that the hard way several times. Alright, so then we'll pick it up, we'll go around it, make sure we don't have any glue seepage. And that there is our book base. And it's stiff as a board right now. Fun intended. But anyways, so now I'm going to show you how I'll take, let me get my glue lid put on here. Get that put up. So now, so you remember those marks that we put on the bottom and the top of that? We're going to line our ruler up on those. That's why I said you want to go ahead and do that first, so you'll tell it. And then you take the blunt end, not the sharp end, the blunt end, because remember this is hollow, and you're going to score that. Just a few times, not real hard, just run up and down it. And see what I'm talking about? Just a few times scoring that. And we'll probably have to do it a few more times, because this should be good and dry now. Or dry enough that we can fold it. Alright, so now I'll take and we're going to start easing it up. See how we're flexing it? We're just flexing it. I may have to come back and put another score on that, because it's wanting to buckle. It may not be quite dry enough, because I did put quite a bit of glue on it. And we're just going to flex that. Just flex it. Up against our ruler there. We don't want to over flex it, because it'll pop your spine. It'll crack your spine. So you just want to flex it. Move it, and just about that much is all you want to do it. And that's good. And so see, that's your right angle right there. And see, you didn't crack your spine. It's just taking a little bit of patience. Sometimes I don't have it and I'm just like, you know. And sometimes I don't let my glue dry, so that causes me issues as well, because this whole piece here will plop off. Alright, so I'm going to line up again. Remember where we scored on the bottom and the top when we did our fold over for our cover piece? That's all I'm doing. I'm finding those marks, lining my ruler up, and I'm just doing a soft score on it, because if you do a hard score with the pointed end, you're going to go through that. Remember? Because it's hollow there. It doesn't have chipboard under it. We did that so our spine, our book would fold and not bind up on itself. So just take your ruler and put up against it. And you can feel it give. It'll start giving. It'll be a little hard at first, but once the fibers kind of be like, oh, she wants us to bend. You just kind of just keep massaging it and moving it along, and it'll start off real hard, and it'll give. And when it does, you need to back off, because when it gives and you're pushing hard, you'll break it. Just soft and easy. That's why I'm just kind of just tapping it like that. That's all I'm doing. This side kind of broke fairly easy. So there's our piece. That is our book base. Now don't take this and weeble wobble it. Do not do that, because if your paper is not massaged on the ends, it will crack the heck out of that spine right there, because remember, it's hollow. You can do it just a little bit, but you don't want to take and do like this with it. It's going to break that spine. Okay, so see, and the more you work with it, it'll loosen up. And it'll sit on your shelf, and then you can put your name on it, whatever it is, decorate the front of it. So now it's got our tie closure on it, and we are ready to put our signature pages in it. Ouch, sorry about that. I hit the table with my knee. And it'll still lay flat. I'm going to leave it alone and let these inner pages here dry. I need to wash my hands because I got glue on it and I'm picking up dirt. The only bad thing about doing a white cover is you gotta, when you're using wet glue, you'll pick up dirt, and it won't be no dirt there, but you'll find it. All right, so how long have we been on here now? An hour and 10 minutes. Is that right? Yep, I can't see upside down. Okay, so now, the reasons why I did a half an inch is because that'll be, I'm going to take this and put it up against my spine right here. So that'll be one page that'll fold out, and we'll put that down. And I'll have another one in the middle, and I'll have one at the front. And those will fold out, and we can decorate the front, this flap, that flap, that flap. So these are basically just 8.5 by 11 cardstock, 65 pound, or you can do 110 pound, but if you do, make sure you score softly on 110. And when you fold it, make sure you massage it. Don't just pop it over, because it'll crack. And then when it cracks, that compromises your score. And then when you put paper on it and it's folded back and forth, that piece will come off. So be real easy on 110 pound cardstock. And some 65 pound cardstock, if it's not quality cardstock, when you score it, it'll crack right through it. I've had 2 pieces do that already. And it was quality cardstock. It cost a little bit. Alright, so the score is going to be 1/4 inch. And then you'll go over and score it 6 inches. Or nope, do not do that. Do not do that. I'm so sorry. The score on your 11-inch side will be 1/2 inch and 6 inches. The score on your 11-inch side for your inner pages will be 1/2 inch and 6 inches. And you'll need 3 of those. And what we're going to do is we'll put double-sided tape down on this and stick it in, because I'm not doing any build-ups off of this. It's just going to be this, and it flips open. And that's going to be our pages for this build. Because it's fairly simple. And I was thinking you could do, you know, like that'd be the birth, the 1st, 2nd month, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the birthday party. That's what I was thinking about for Miss Maggie's purposes. That was my thinking on that piece. But for me, it's just going to be, you know, her trick-or-treating and what have you. But that was my thinking. I did this build in mind for Miss Maggie. I did this for you, because in that way you would have the birthday party, and a place for a picture for each month, if that makes sense to you. Alright, so then when we put these down, you put double-sided tape here, or you can do it with wet glue. It's just, if you do it with wet glue, you got to let it dry before you decorate these pages. And then I would take, see where your spine is right here? You just line that up and put it right up against that. So you see where the score is, you put it right up against, but right before the score, right up against it, and put it down. And then you just line your next one up right next to this. and the next one. And then that way you'll have room at the front. You'll have about 1/8 of an inch or so up at the front for your flip-floppy to hang. All right, so we'll be back tomorrow, and we'll get our pages put in, and I'll get to decorating it. Now, you can put pockets on the inside of this if you'd like. That, you know, you can do it with the same color cardstock as you did your base build with. Now, this is a good base build for you to take and use any kind of decorative paper. And see, get you one of these. I got this from the Dollar Tree. It's one of those glue remover erasers. And you see how I had some black marks right there for my hands? It takes it right off, cleans it right up. I like it for that better than I do the glue removal. The glue removal ain't all that much, but it'll remove those places. Alright, so we'll get back in it tomorrow. And again, you need 3 of these inner pages that are 8.5 by 11. You're going to put it on your 11-inch side, and you're going to score at 1/2 inch and 6 inches, and do a real easy. And I just put them down on my paper, like on my table, and I just real easy fold it over like that. That's how I'll do it. And then on this middle piece, I'll take it and I'll start to fold over like that. And then before I crease it real good, I'll line the sides up, and I'll start in the middle, and I'll go out and do a crease on it. That way those papers line up and it's not off one way or the other. Now this, you do need to cut it down because our book, remember, is 8 1/4 tall. So you do need to take your 8 1/2. After you do your scores, you can lay it down and cut 1/4 inch off of it. The easiest way to do it. That's how I done mine. After I scored it, I just took it and laid it out and did put it to 8 1/4, and I trimmed 1/4 inch off of it, so it's the same height as our book. See? All right, and then we'll get into cutting our papers, and I'll do the measurements for the papers if you want on the bigger side where you scored from 1/2 inch to 6 inch. That measurement on the inside paper to have you a 1/4 inch trim around it is going to be 3 5/8 wide by 8 inches tall. The side piece flap that folds over, the decorative paper for it will need to be 8 inches tall on both sides. Now, where did I put that at? The decorative paper. All right, so 8 inches tall, and it is 4 3/4 wide to have a 1/4 inch border around. Let me remeasure that. Make sure I'm not lying to you. Yep. So the piece that flaps after the 6 inch score needs to be 8 inches tall by 4 3/4 to have the 1/4 inch border around whatever your decorative. So basically what I do is I want the white to be my 1/4 inch trim around all of my decorative papers. Sometimes I'll do 8 1/2 by 6 1/2 because I know on the outside pieces I'm going to do, you know, like a layered border trim around my outside pieces, but not on this. I'm just going to let my white be my decorative trim piece. So basically, anytime that you do a book like this or a decorative piece and you're wanting, you know, not the plain Janie front, you just do the height, you go down 1/4 inch, and the width, you go down 1/4 inch from what your original size is. That's the easiest way to explain that. So any decorative paper on the inside is the same thing. You'll go down 1/4 inch on the height and down 1/4 inch on the width. And that is the best way to explain it. So that way, Miss Maggie, if you want to go ahead and work ahead, you got your measurements and how to do it. So you can take and just double side tape your 1/2 inch score and put it down, butt it up against where you did your score for your spine piece. See how that is? So it won't impede on your fold. You put that one down first, and then you place the rest of them in front of it. Alrighty, y'all have fun. I thank you so much for, I know it's a little bit lengthy and a little bit mouthy, and it's sometimes probably hard to understand because of my voice is cracking and going in and out. But I love doing these. And this one I know is a little bit more extra explanatory because this is the first one I've actually really did a base build on my channel. So, but yep, it's ready to go. So now I gotta get I'll get my inside papers put in it tomorrow, and I'll figure out what decorative papers I want where, when, and how after we do that. Usually I'll lay out all my decorative papers where and how I want them. I tied that completely backwards, but anyways. And then I'll go to do my cuts on my papers. I place them before I cut them, so that way I know I won't mess up and cut one to go here and thinking it was going here. You know what I'm saying? Alrighty, y'all. Thank you so much. I will see y'all tomorrow, and we'll put our pages in and get to decorating it. And that'll be fairly quick. So once you do the base build of it and you get the hang of it, you knock these out no problem. You could probably, if you had, you know, the papers, and because once you have the measurement for it, you just sit and cut the papers. Because we didn't do any cutting besides miter in the corners. That's the only cutting we really did for the base build. And if you really didn't want to cut nothing, you could just do 8.5 on all of your papers, and you wouldn't even have to cut nothing. You just have to, you know, if you want the border trim around it, and that's all. But yeah, and the reason why I done that was because you can take, and there's some real pretty baby papers that are 12 of 12, and there's got a bunch of real pretty baby journal papers or journal kits that you could take and cut and put in this. So you've got your 6 inches by 8 inches. It'll be perfect. All right, I'm gonna get off here and quit talking. My voice is about to go. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good day.